Dear students, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity to deliver a keynote speech in this important topic in the 4th Finance Summit at KIIT. Everyone in India, in every forum that you get an opportunity to engage, whether it is an informal dinner setting or a formal conference, I don't think this topic misses the agenda. Everyone seems to discuss what's going to happen. Are we in for bad times? So it's the most important thing that gets discussed. In short term, the concern seems to be the weakening of the rupee, and medium to long term, the concern seems to be the slowing economic growth. I would like to give a perspective first by looking at what is the growth that we have achieved in the last decade and why, where we are and what needs to be done. First thing that we need to recognize is we are living in a true global world which is totally interconnected and interdependent. In this context, if you look from 2000 onwards, 2000 to 2007, until the slowdown, and again in 2010, we have had an incredible growth. It's almost like a dream sequence, the kind of growth that we have had. Even if you look at our own industry, our industry has grown really phenomenally in the last 20 years and definitely in the last 10 years. We were a $100 million industry in 1991 and we are a $100 billion industry today in 20 years. And in the last 10 years, the export growth has been so much from our industry that today we are about $85 billion of exports and $15 billion domestic, making the 100 billion. And this industry has contributed significantly in terms of exports as a percentage of GDP in the last 10 years has increased by 9 percentage points, largely due to IT industry. But in terms of capital flows or investments, the global investments into emerging markets also has gone up significantly in these 10 years. In the year 2000, the total investments into emerging markets was about $200 billion. And 10 years later, it was $1 trillion, of which about $400 billion was only to BRICS. So if you look at the growth rate of emerging markets, especially the BRICS, it's not only India but also China, Brazil, all have shown incredible growth in this period. So there has been a strong linking. We have also, while we have grown very well, we have done many things well, which I'll talk about, we have also benefited significantly by the global ecosystem. You call it the tailwinds or you call it the investments coming from globally, etc. What has happened post the crisis? The first point I would like to say is that the global demand for products and services and hence the trade has gone down. If you look at just the auto sector in the US dipped by 40%, which naturally affected even a country like India. All our auto components manufacturers had a huge impact. So on the export side, we've had huge impact because of the decrease in demand globally. At the same time, even if you look at the gems and jewelry, last year had a huge dip, 17% dip. But on the other hand, we continue to increase our imports. We are a significant user of gold, and the amount of gold we consume has grown more than 2.5 times between 2001 and 2012. If you look at oil sector, 80% of our oils is imported. So our import bill has gone up significantly and our exports have come down, causing a variety of issues from current account deficit to everything else. The third point I would say is that our spend in infrastructure, which was pretty significant, has gone down last year by more than 50%. And that has a lot of downstream impact. And also in terms of policy making, for a variety of reasons, in our political system, we have had issues. So I think the combination of domestic issues and true drop in international demand, US and in other parts, we have had a lot of challenges. And all of this has affected our growth rate, currency, and so on. But we should not forget that the growth that we achieved in the most part of the 2000 to 2010 was an incredible amount of growth. So that has also set very huge expectations and some sort of belief that we are totally insulated and no matter what happens anywhere, we will continue to grow. But that's not the case. So what needs to happen? If you really look at our country, I am very extremely bullish about our nation, the people, the talent, the entrepreneurial spirit of our entrepreneurs, and the potential that we have to leverage technology to innovate, and the talent and the ability that I believe we have to realize that potential. All of this makes me believe that we have an incredible opportunity and growth ahead of us. If you really look at the immediate future, I think the situation is changing. There are initial signs that the global demand is picking up. Couple of data points for you. If you look at the 2012 performance of the top American companies, the S&P 500 companies, they have delivered outstanding financial results. And see these indicators over the last, let's say 20 quarters or 30, 25 quarters, from 2007, 2008 onwards, if you plot, you see a distinct trend change in the last 6 quarters. First, one of the most important things in the US they track is the home prices, median home prices, and that has been consistently going up in the last 6 quarters. And for the first time, it has exceeded the pre-2008 crisis, the 2007 level it has exceeded. If you look at the unemployment, it has been coming down consistently for the last 6 quarters. If you look at the auto sales has shown continuous improvement over the last 6 quarters and crossed the 45 million vehicles in the recent quarter, again ahead of the best they've had pre-crisis. The consumer confidence index has been consistently going up over the last 6 quarters. Clearly show that the demand, global demand, especially in the US, it always starts in the US, is picking up, and that is going to show, that is going to present huge number of opportunities. So it's important that we prepare ourselves to capture this opportunity. The second data point I want to give you is about technology. I think we are in a very interesting time. You can call it an inflection point. I believe we are in a point of transition. The last century or so, we have had transitions from agricultural economy to industrial economy to knowledge economy to internet era to what I call as the digital consumer era. We are entering that phase. Whenever such transitions happen, there are fundamental changes in the industry structures on the one hand, and there are unique opportunities that present themselves, and there are going to be new winners emerging out of those opportunities. And the reason I say that is, in the last 12 months, just the whole digital initiatives of the digital phenomena has contributed to economic growth to the order of $200 billion. And 6 million new jobs were created by these initiatives. But these jobs require a completely different set of skill sets than the ones that we are used to. So I think this whole digital initiative presents a completely a new opportunity of growth. From our point of view, India point of view, there are some incredible opportunities. If you take the public sector, these technologies, when I say digital technologies, I mean mobility, I mean social, I mean cloud, I mean big data, analytics, and then artificial intelligence. All of these technologies have a powerful role to play. It's only the business to business that used to get digitized and automated. Business to consumer was never real time, never automated. Now business to consumer, the whole chain is getting automated. I can give you a simple example to elucidate what I am saying. You take a consumer product company. A consumer product company launches a product. In the US, let's say a Coke or a Pepsi launches a product. And the way this product will be marketed is by selling these products through retailers, a Walmart or a Safeway or any one of these chains. In India, it's a department store or it's a kirana shop, or they do a survey through a newspaper or a web portal. But today, the moment this product is acquired by the consumer is tweeting. And the consumer product company is listening to that, and they don't wait for the retailer or for a survey to be done. Instantaneously they get the feedback. And that kind of changes the whole way in which business is done. So I can go on and on. Each one of these technologies is changing the way the business is done. New business models are emerging, business processes are changing, and so on. The delivery and make it efficient and corruption free. Has huge opportunities in the power sector, can avoid linkages, can bring in smart grids, huge impact opportunities in healthcare, fantastic analytics opportunities. The third area we need to work on is about skilling people. Education, skills, and having a very flexible workforce is going to be fundamental, because we are going to be having a huge workforce. The number of people that we have in the working population is going to double and triple. And people who are working in the factories may be moving to services. Then we may have to train them and provide them the skills. So we need to create a flexible workforce. And the fourth area is about funding innovation. We got a lot of investments coming into this country, in the telecom sector and again in the infrastructure sector. And now in India, there are a lot of startups, especially in the mobile apps area. There are 9,000 startups and growing faster than anywhere else in the world. And such entrepreneurial opportunities will exist in many sectors. And finally, the policy framework. We need to work with the government to create a pro-market policy framework. Not only a pro-business one, a pro-market one. So to my mind, the success we had and the growth we experienced has to be seen in the global context. While we did many things well between 2001 or after the 91 onwards, the investments that went in the emerging market, a lot of entrepreneurs coming in this country coming up and taking those opportunities, all of those delivered incredible growth. It went even over 10%. While some of it is because of domestic issues, many of the impact is also due to the global impact, the drop in demand, and drop in the investment into emerging markets, and a combination of this affecting our currency, imbalance in the import and export, exports coming down, not able to control the imports. And when such things happen, things get and look more worse than what it is. But I do believe we are at a point that the global demand is going to pick up. We are seeing the initial signs. And we are in a transition of an economic era which is presenting huge opportunities. In the last 20 years, we have halved the extent of poverty. We have halved the number of people who have no access to safe drinking water. We have halved more or less the number of people who have no access to sanitation facilities. We have an universal primary education system. Definitely, we have better infrastructure today than we had 20 years ago, whether it is in terms of better roads, in terms of teledensity, in terms of power. But the issue is, this is not enough. We have a huge need to better infrastructure, more infrastructure, to lift more people out of poverty. But for the reasons I said, I'm extremely bullish. We have a number of actions to take. And I do believe the global ecosystem and the demand environment